why now? Why me? Why this book? It's a book of short stories. The publicity plan is, print up a couple dozen and send them out and just hope that like an intern at Bookslut fishes it out of the slush pile and writes a review. And to have this outpouring of support from Fox News, from the pundits at Fox News, has just been, what? Glenn Beck endorsed the book. A couple of months ago, he appeared on Bill O'Reilly's show. Bill O'Reilly every week says, what have you been reading? Glenn Beck says, without hesitating, just goes boom.
God bless America!
Oh, yeah. You can see in the clip that Bill O'Reilly's totally freaked out. Like, what? And as it turns out, Bill O'Reilly is a total experimental fiction guy. He's like, Gary Lutz, Ben Marcus, let's make it new, stretch the language. He's like, wait a second, are you sure? Like Steve Almond's God Bless America, like the candy guy, the sex writing guy, and Glenn Beck just comes right over the top.
You're okay with that? God bless America! But shouldn't they get...
You get an endorsement from one of the big dogs, Glenn Beck, and it just travels down.
God bless America. God bless America.
Do you guys realize that I'm basically a communist? Like, I'm way to the left of Christ in terms of my social and political and moral views? I would go down on Rachel Maddow if she would let me. At a certain point, my publicist sends over an endorsement, a clip from Michelle Malkin. Michelle Malkin, of all people. I'm sure they're doing some segment on why anybody with darker skin than Mario Lopez should be deported immediately and burned on the way out of the country. And Gretchen Carlson or somebody says, well, what have you been reading this season? And boom, there's Michelle Malkin. You can see that she's nervous.
Yeah, God bless America, you would think.
Of course, I knew Sarah Palin was going to endorse the book sooner or later. She'd endorse sticking a firecracker up a kitten's ass if it juiced her brand.
God bless America!
Why did Glenn Beck decide to endorse this book of all books that he could have endorsed? I'm just sort of searching my own pot-fogged memory banks for where did this come from, how did this happen? And it turns out I have written about Glenn Beck. A few years ago I wrote about him for a piece in Salon, that leftist online rag, in which I basically said, and I kind of half believe this, like Glenn Beck is one of the great unsung, unrecognized fiction writers of our age. But I think what happened is that one of Glenn Beck's, no doubt sexually harassed by Bill O'Reilly interns, got a copy of this thing, and because they don't necessarily process satire at Fox News, read it and was like, Glenn, there is a guy out there who says you're the greatest fiction writer ever. Like, he compares you to Dickens. And my guess is that Glenn Beck just said, awesome, maybe read my stories, probably not, maybe sounded out a few words, and was like, boom.
God bless America!
What do you want me to say? In the end, literary fiction is like any other game. It's about moving units. Fox News knows that, I know that, and God bless Fox News.
Papa, can you make another book about chocolate?